Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the show. This episode is brought to you by The Wellness Paradigm, a holistic health coaching company shifting the way that women understand and heal their bodies. Through bioenergetic testing, functional lab testing, and functional nutrition, we uncover what traditional approaches often overlook. So you can stop guessing, start healing, and finally feel like yourself again. No more one size fits all protocols, just real answers, deep rooted healing, and the clarity and confidence you deserve to feel incredible. It's time to shift the paradigm of women's health. Now, on to our show. And good afternoon, Laurel.
Hello.
So glad you're here and excited to have this conversation on very much needed conversation, around different training styles, around men and women, particularly over 40, who are just, I feel like, I don't want to say forgotten, but not talked about enough. And I know you have so much experience in this. She is a former model and corporate executive turned multi-unit fitness studio owner called Alloy, right? Alloy Personal
Yes.
Training in Scottsdale. And so she has so much experience working with so many different people. So I'd love to dive into who you are, how you got started in this work, and why specifically this kind of niche.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, how I got started, fitness was really the only thing I really loved. I was super passionate about it. I think just from, my childhood and through adolescence as a model and not really understanding fitness and nutrition, the message was always just to be skinny. And I didn't really understand like how to eat, how to move my body. And when that shift went from skinny to like feeling strong, was really powerful for me. Like that was definitely the start of something where I started to see my body change, but also just my confidence level. And did some fitness competitions and really learned about nutrition and how to change my body there. Now, the mental piece of that, mental, emotional, spiritual, that came much later. But yeah, it was just something I really, really loved and didn't think I could make any money doing it. And so I was working in a corporate job, had about 200 employees that I was responsible for, running the sales team, operations, all of that. And it was just incredibly stressful. And after I think my daughter was a newborn and coming home crying every night, just with the demands of what all that was, it was my husband's idea to buy a business. And so we looked at a lot of different things, different types of businesses. And I remember coming home one day and he said, I found it. Like, this is the one. And it was a small boutique gym that really had no brand or like niche of what it was doing, all over the place. One-on-one personal training, large group, semi-private, small group, 1099 trainers. It didn't have any branding or messaging at all. And we really transformed it because I kept hearing people say the same things over and over in my conversations with them. So responding to that need helped me niche to kind of this small group personal training that specialized in working with people over 40, people that didn't feel comfortable in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they didn't know what they were doing. They needed something a little bit more hands-on and personalized. And my first gym, our tagline was the gym for non-gym people. So
Love
when I
that.
put that out there, I was like, I didn't know if it was going to resonate or not. And we just exploded because it was just so many people.
Yeah.
That was their experience of the gym. So I sold that business in December of this year and decided to open multiple locations with Alloy Personal Training, which is a franchise. But it was what I'd been doing for 8 years. And I just felt very aligned with like the company values, the team that I met there, all of the training, the programming that they were doing was very similar to what we were doing before. So I felt like I could scale it more quickly, and ultimately help more people.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that, the gym for non-gym goers, because that's the biggest thing I've seen with so many, particularly women, but men as well. It's like they're just the gym has such a stigma to it, right? And they're scared to even just step foot because of embarrassment, or they don't know what to do, or the just just getting started, right? Um,
Exactly. And if you think about it, like where do people learn this? If you didn't have parents who were showing you how to work out, or you didn't take a weightlifting class, or you weren't an athlete, most of the general population is not educated. They're not learning how to do this. So how do you learn? And investing in a personal trainer for $1,000, $1,500 a month is not realistic for most people to do long term. So they just don't, and they don't get the help. So
Oh, 100%. And I mean, especially if you're working with 40 and older, Instagram may or may not be, a thing that they do. But I remember when I was managing a gym, like Instagram wasn't around until very late, until like, very late into my career too. And I was like, this is crazy. You can just go on and figure out how to do it, whether it's good or bad is a different story, you know, these different exercises and all these different things. But even then, then you get confused because you're like, wait a minute, do I do all of these
Yeah.
things? Is this the
Mhm.
thing?
And I feel like now that's probably what I'm seeing more than anything, Shannon, is like there's so much information out there, and there's like you can have ChatGPT write you a meal plan. You can have ChatGPT write a workout plan for you, but the compliance of actually following through on those programs or knowing if you're doing something correctly, or God forbid you have an injury, which most of our clients over 40 do,
Yeah.
well, they may be actually making something worse if they have dysfunction in
Hmm.
some way, and we're not. Sometimes it's a strengthening issue, sometimes it's a rehab issue. If you don't really know that, like you're just guessing, and sometimes they're making things worse by not getting professional help.
Oh, 100%. And then you're re or undoing a lot of damage on the body, and it takes a lot longer in that aspect. But what would you say are kind of two or three of the most common things that you see when people come to, your facility?
When what I see in terms of like what they're doing wrong,
What they're
maybe.
wanting help with,
Yeah.
kind of what they're struggling with.
Sure. I mean, what they're needing help with, I would say, hands down, is people do not follow through. So they need accountability. And a lot of them, I think, are coming in with it's almost like they already don't believe in themselves because they've been through this pattern so many times. I had a client intake call this morning. And he's like, I do this all the time. And even the language around it is so self-sabotaging. It's like, this is who I am, this is what I do,
Yep.
that I will gently course correct people and coach them even on those initial phone calls of like, let's just be careful with our language here. Like one is damning yourself that like you're just not this person. And
Mhm.
one is saying, up until this point, I haven't prioritized this the way that I need to. One gives you hope, one gives you a way out, and the other is like, this is just who I am and I can't change it. Like kind of victim mentality a little bit. So that would be one of them, of just kind of this victim mentality of I can't do this because I've failed so many times.
Yeah.
Um, that would be one. And in terms of accountability, I think for women specifically, it's a lot of misinformation still, which is crazy to me in this day and age. On they've been sold this idea that fat is bad for them, carbs are bad for them. They need to diet, they need to excessively restrict calories. And so I'm working on undoing some really, really deeply rooted belief systems, specifically with women. They are scared to eat. I mean, really terrified to eat. I'd say that's probably more a women thing than a men thing. They're eating 1,000 to 1,200 calories a day, and at some point, their body has just said no more. Like they can't just keep eating less and less and less. It's things. So metabolic function starts to slow down. Their hormones slow down. Like everything's just out of whack. A lot of them, it takes a while to even get them to a baseline to where their body will relax enough to lose weight.
Oh, yes.
So you're like, yes, preach to the choir. I'm sure you see that a lot in your business.
70, 80%. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then just the understanding of like, how do I meet them where they're at if they have such deeply ingrained like fears around food and their relationship with food, to not say, well, we're going to take you from 1,000 calories a day to probably where you should be eating is 2,000 calories a day. They would gain body fat if we did that immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably would be overly full, like they wouldn't feel good. So there's a lot of trust that has to be developed with the clients, I think, in the beginning. Um, so that's a really common one, like those two. I would say accountability, under eating, and probably just not really understanding how to train. Most of them are doing too much cardio.
Yep.
Too much cardio. I never want to like badmouth any other gyms, but for specifically the 40 plus and specifically women, um, they're doing the wrong type of exercise for their body. So not enough heavier lifting, too much, like a F45 is not high intensity training. That's actually moderate intensity training. We're not getting that heart rate variability that we need. And so they're doing these things that just spike their cortisol and like make them exhausted, but they're not really getting enough progressive overload to like build muscle doing those things, which is what they need over 40. So those are the big things I'm seeing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The overtraining, the undereating, and the chronic, negative patterns, especially in that age group, they're so deeply ingrained,
Yes.
and it's really hard to trust. And that's one thing I like that you mentioned. And one thing that's really beautiful and in person as well is developing that relationship and that trust. Um,
Mhm.
in because your whole life gets better when you're able to trust your body more, when you're able to eat a little bit
Yes.
more, not
Mhm.
kill yourself doing HIIT all day long, especially when you're in perimenopause and or menopause. Like you need to create that progressive overload, that muscle mass,
Mhm.
not just constantly be catabolic all day long.
Yeah.
So, um, is there something that you feel like you would love to be able to offer clients that you see is like kind of a gap in this like in-person industry?
Something that I see as a gap. Well, I mean, if I could be in their ear, I would say more regularly, and that is actually something that my team and I are considering building in the fourth quarter, is a podcast episode that really I don't even necessarily care if it gets the like a really wide reach, but I'm thinking if I can be in my client's ear
Mm,
regularly through the week in terms of how to build habits, how they're eating, how they're planning for things. I mean, just little things like I did a Costco haul this weekend, and there's a couple new products that I found at Costco that are like, these are organic, grass fed. Um, there's the mush oatmeal things that are 15 grams of protein. There's no artificial anything in them. And just, I'm thinking of things all day long and ideas are popping in my head. So if I could be in their ear more and have more influence, not just me, but my team and the coaches and stuff that are so knowledgeable about what they do, I think that would fill the gap because they're seeing us 3 times a week, 2 times a week. So it's 3 hours of their week. And think about all of the other influences they have around them. And many of my clients do not have supportive communities around them. Their
yeah.
gym community is the only people. Sometimes we're talking about generations of obesity and poor eating and sedentary lifestyle. Like that's how they grew up. That's how their parents are. That's how their children are. So we're really trying to like, people are working against, they have everything working against them,
Yeah.
so I think that's really the gap as I'm saying that out loud, is not enough influence to the positive with the person they're attempting to become.
Mm. And that's so powerful is who you surround yourself with. And that's so hard, especially on a health journey when you have like not supportive partners or
Mhm.
family. And you just like question, like, am I on the right path? Am I doing the right thing? Um,
Mhm.
you know, and it's such a level of strength when you go against the grain of everything you've known.
Yeah. So, I mean, we try to create that infrastructure within the studio that they have those check-ins with myself or our director once a month. We're sitting down with them. We're reviewing like, how are you eating? How are you feeling this first 30 days? Any of that mental trash of like, I'm not seeing as much progress as I want to initially, or those things like that, sitting down with them and addressing those things before they go home and ruminate on it by themselves is really helpful. And then I think the connections they're making within the gym really helps too. I see the most successful members are the ones that they're talking to their peer group. They go out for coffee afterwards. They are hanging out, and they're developing these new, and that's really a big part of why I do what I do is we do not have that connection today. People don't go to church, they don't know their neighbors, they don't. So where does it exist? And you have a culture of lonely people
Mhm.
who are just trying to do everything to feel better, and they're usually like self-medicating, drugs, alcohol, food. They're not, I know what they need, but they're just going about it in a negative way, you know?
Oh, yes. Yes. I see a lot of those self-sabotaging behaviors.
Yes.
Now, how do you, as a business owner, who runs, multiple different aspects and, obviously takes care of herself, like, what do you do as a business owner to stay healthy, to stay fit, to just be able to show up as your best for all of these clients and the business?
hmm Well, I would say first and foremost, I'm human, just like everybody else. Um, it's interesting you asked that question because literally yesterday I spent the summer at our cabin in Flagstaff. This is out in the middle of nowhere. I'm 45 minutes from town, out in the woods, completely off-grid home.
Wow.
So I definitely have like less demands and stimulus. I can sit back and work on the business more, kind of jump in when I want, but I'm not physically here to be pulled into as many things.
Mhm.
Um, so while I'm up there, I mean, I'm probably averaging 25,000 steps a day. We are walking and hiking and outside all the time. And because in Scottsdale, we can't do that in the summer here.
Mhm.
Um, and then when I got back this past weekend, my kids all start school on Monday. Um, I hadn't worked out probably in what's today, Wednesday,
Mhm.
probably since Saturday. And all the kids needed school clothes, their shopping, getting their schedules, bus, all this stuff going on, their activities. And I remember yesterday, I just felt so overwhelmed. I'm in the kitchen that I had to walk in my bedroom. I just laid down on my bed and put my hand on my heart and I just did some really deep breaths. And before I know it, I just start crying. Like the tears just start streaming down. That's your freaking nervous system. Like was just completely out of whack. Like what's happening right now, like the contrast between this still environment and then the chaos that is my normal life. And I just checked in with myself and like, what are the things that I have not been doing this past week that I normally do? And I hadn't really moved my body, like a morning walk, a couple miles, but not even close to like what I'm normally doing.
Mhm.
Um, and so I got up, I went to the gym, my gym, and did a workout, lifted some heavy weights. And I texted my husband when I was done. I said, I feel like a different human being. Like it's
Mhm.
incredible, like the difference of just having that outlet and what movement does to the body. So that is 100% like one of my practices that is present all the time. So walking, probably averaging like 10 to 15,000 steps a day. So low heart rate activity. Um, I lift weights 3 to 4 times a week consistently. And I'm the strongest skinny girl, like I lift real heavy.
Yeah.
Um, so lifting heavy weights, and then I just have some sort of practice for the mental, emotional, spiritual place that I'm in. And that definitely did not exist some years ago. I was just completely unaware of almost like out of my own body and just reacting from like a subconscious place a lot of the time, where now I think I'm much more in tune with how I'm feeling and my emotional state on a day-to-day basis. So I can attune to what I need in that moment better, like I just did yesterday. It was like I can feel when I'm off and I have those tools to like recalibrate a lot more quickly than, let's say, maybe somebody that is completely self-aware and they drink or use drugs or self-sabotage. Um, and they may be off for months or years, where for me it might be a couple days, you
Yep.
know.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the absolute missing puzzle pieces. This is actually why I started my company too. But one of the reasons is like in the gym setting sometimes. And I love that you understand this and you embody it because I see so many people that don't understand nervous system regulation and their
Mhm.
dysregulation pushes onto other people too, right? And they don't understand how their body and their nervous system works and that it needs to relax at some point too, because we're always on this constant sympathetic overdrive all day long and we don't realize it because that's our normal. Um,
100%. And I think it just kind of creates this vicious cycle of like then shame, because think about the mom who is wired and tired all the time,
yep.
living on coffee and salads. And then they're overwhelmed and they yell at their kids and then they feel like a horrible mom,
Yep.
where it's really just you haven't taken any time to attune to what you need. So you are showing up as the most regulated version with your family, and you can meet the demands of that 5-year-old that doesn't know what's happening with you. So I think that's the biggest piece. And some of those practices for me, I do breath work periodically, and not just, sitting here deep breathing. That is one piece of it. I think our breath is a amazing tool to just keep us present, especially in those moments where we start feeling ourselves getting stressed or emotional or things like that, to just take a few of those breaths and kind of recenter. But actually, like an hour of breath work, some of those practices. I find if I just have a little bit of time in the mornings to either read something or journal and just have that quiet time with myself before like the chaos ensues, then I'm usually pretty good. Like, and my husband will say, like, nothing bothers you. And I'm like, it does bother me. I just don't, I'm better able to manage it without losing my shit
For sure. You don't sit and ruminate in it. It
when
doesn't,
I'm in a good place. When I'm not, that's when, things go off the rails a little.
for sure. But you're so much more introspective and aware too that, like, hey, this is off. Shit's about to hit the fan. I need to.
Can feel it coming and take a moment.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. If you would have told me like 3, 4 years ago that I would sit in meditation for 45 minutes, I would have laughed at you. I'd be
Yeah.
like, I'll give you 5 minutes.
It's always the people who are like the busiest. I call it the monkey mind. They're like, I can't meditate. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly why you need it.
100%, and it's just because it feels uncomfortable to be in stillness. Our body's not used to it. It doesn't feel safe. It's
Yes.
not that you can't do it. It's just you
Practice.
rewire. It's like a
Exactly.
muscle.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the more you do it, the more you crave it. Like that was a crazy thing when I started. I was like, wait, I'm craving sitting in silence. Like this is
Oh.
crazy. Probably because I also had a newborn and there was like no silence, but like, that's a different story. But
I am not jealous of you. I'm like, how did I do that? But it's hard.
that's one of the biggest things. It's just like, yeah, regulating yourself because that, especially I'd say a lot of your people are probably moms too, right? Of,
Yes.
maybe middle-aged or not middle-aged, middle school to, teenage years, maybe empty nesters. But it's
Yeah.
like that middle-aged to like, or middle school to high school year, that's a hard time. You
Oh,
need to be
girl.
regulated and grounded and who are because they
I have
are
an 11, 13, and 16-year-old, all girls.
blessed. I'm
Yeah.
a triplet, well, all three girls. So
Wow.
there's a lot of estrogen in that house
Yes,
all at once, and
exactly.
it's a lot.
Because
Uh,
I always say, like, so one of them is pissed off, crying, melting down. There's something happening all the time. My poor husband. It's just what is
yeah,
going on?
a lot going on. And aren't you grateful that you know how to ground a little bit more during the chaos?
I think I have a different perspective on all this. I think just everything that I've been through, from like sobriety to almost losing my business to so many things. Like when I look back at them, like I know it sounds cheesy, it sounds very like scripted, but in the moment, world's falling apart, like
Yeah.
so difficult. And then now I have such a different experience with challenges or whatever, like that people would typically say are like good and bad. Like I don't have those labels on things as much anymore. It's almost like this is all just part of the human experience. And I can look at it like, wow, like that was unexpected. Like, what an amazing blessing that this is my life. Like,
Mhm.
and I can navigate all of this is okay. Like I don't have to label it as this is good, this is bad, because those situations ultimately made me a stronger business owner. Um, my sobriety helped me be more self-aware, more regulated, more in tune with things so I can navigate all of this with my teenage girls. Maybe I wouldn't have been able to do any of that had I not, had I just been drinking a bottle of wine a night and tried to push on forward. I probably would have drastically been a different mother than I am today.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. If somebody was, let's say they're in this kind of same age as, you just kind of navigating these life transitions, they're wanting to get healthier, maybe wanting to get more fit, what would be one or two different kind of pieces of advice that you would give them if they were kind of just getting started, maybe a little bit weary.
Mhm. Well, I would say with anything that a person is wanting to change, um, I think that self-awareness is key. So we can't change anything about ourselves that we are not aware of. So like shining that light of awareness on what are the things about myself that when I'm laying in bed at night that I feel shame or that I'm a fraud or I'm not living authentically to the person that I want to be. We kind of know what those are. I think that inner compass or inner guide, like I knew when I was drinking like that, this isn't right. This isn't the person I want to be. It usually tends to be the things you're most defensive about,
Mhm.
that you're most triggered by. When my husband would be like, "Did you have wine tonight? Or did you drink at happy hour?" And I would be like, "No." Or like he would drink with me and I'd be like, "You're going to be boring tonight." I'd be so angry because he wasn't joining the thing that I wanted. So I think like look at your own reactivity, your own emotions around the things you're doing. If you're feeling like you eat something and you feel a bunch of shame around it, like instead of punishing yourself for that feeling, what is that emotion trying to tell you? Like, and sometimes it's we're living out of integrity. Like, this isn't what I want to be doing. This isn't what I want to, how I want to treat my body. And I keep doing this. So therefore, I feel shame. What's that emotion telling me? So, like, I think a little bit more self compassion and instead of judgment, looking at what's going on with ourselves with more curiosity. And that's how we can begin to make a change. So I've always, as I'm coaching people, when I'm on the phone with them, I will ask a lot of questions. And I think getting to the root of asking why, like, well, I want to lose weight. Well, why do you want to lose weight? Well, because I want to feel more confident. Well, why do you want to feel more confident? And if you ask them that enough and you ask it in a really genuine, non-threatening way, at some point, usually there's a crack in the voice and you get to the root of, I hate the way I feel about myself, and you get that more vulnerable piece. And when you can get there with people or with yourself, that's where the magic is. That's where the gold is, because we're generally only motivated out of pain or pleasure, and pain is a really strong motivator. So if we can kind of connect with that of like, why do we need to be different? Who do we want to be as a result? I think that's the key point for people is just doing that inner work and investigating, and then finding support. So everybody's idea of support is different, but accountability, and education and community, those three combined, someone who knows their shit, can hold you accountable, and the support when you don't feel like doing it anymore. I think that's the gold.
Mm, love that. And I love what you said about curiosity, right? Meeting yourself with curiosity, not shame, not judgment.
Mhm.
Just, this is interesting. Why is this happening?
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Inside Out 2?
No, I know it.
Soon. I mean, I have girls.
Yeah.
So Inside Out and Inside Out too. And I think they do a great job of, talking about, if for anyone who's listening that's seen hasn't seen the movie, it's a cartoon version, but she's talking about all of our emotions and how they serve a purpose. And they're really telling us something. They're there to protect us in some way. But if we're not even aware of them or what they mean, or we're scared of our own sadness, we're scared of our embarrassment or our shame or things like that, we don't have a good relationship with ourselves internally to really be aware of what changes we need to make. So
Mm,
I think they're very connected.
very connected. And I'll tell you just from a personal level of clients too, it's like when you understand that, when you release that shame judgment and or, just communicate better emotionally with yourself, clients drop weight. Like
Yeah.
this, they suddenly like their hormone issues get better, their gut issues. It's like it's all so interconnected, but it does start with
Yes.
your brain too. So I love that you mentioned that. There's only so much training. You can't out train, you can't out diet, a dysregulated nervous system. So
And some of the people that you see on social media that have the best bodies and
wow.
things like that are some of the most unhealthy people, unhealthy relationships with food,
100%.
have to track and weigh every gram of things they're eating to feel safe. And no judgment if that's something that someone's doing, if if the tool is there for you to learn, like what's in this food, like, understanding what are my macronutrients, what are my micronutrients, what kind of fuel is this? I think it'd be a great tool for people to learn if it's a tool and not a tool for self-punishment or control.
That's a big
Like,
one.
and so that's a slippery slope with people. And again, that's where having a coach and having somebody that can make sure that that's used in a positive way, can be really helpful.
Oh, absolutely. And not comparing yourself. I remember I won a bodybuilding show and, on the outside looked absolutely the most healthiest, ripped, fit. I was wrecked inside,
Yeah.
internally, hormonally, gut, mentally, it's like that is not the fittest version. I felt absolutely my best when I was 20 pounds heavier. Everything was regulated, felt amazing. I was like, but just because you,
Similar when I did mine, I think it was an amazing experience for seeing like how the body can change using food. I think that was great. But the eye-opening moment for me was realizing I was 7% body fat and I still
God,
didn't feel happy.
no.
I didn't feel happy and I was obsessing about this to a certain level. So that's what I think I would want any women listening to this specifically to understand is like those people, like you think that you will be happy when,
Mm-mm.
and you just obsess about it enough that when that when comes, then you just don't want to lose it, or you're so afraid of maintaining it, or all of those things. It's just such an element of control instead of fixing the root cause, which is why do you feel like shit about yourself in the first place and treating yourself this way, which is the whole point, you know?
Oh, I mean, 100%. That's actually why I got kind of out of solely weight loss for women. It was like when we hyper fixate on just that end goal, I can guarantee you will not find fulfillment when you reach that goal. It goes so much deeper than that. I'm not saying you can't be happier for, lose 30 or 40 pounds. It's just that that is not the destination. Like that's not going to be what fulfills you. And I can't tell you how
Sometimes
many.
people need to see that. They need to get to that point first,
Yes. Oh, oh,
like I did, and it sounds like you did.
oh, yeah.
Then realize, have you ever heard the Jim Carrey quote? He said, I wish everybody was a billionaire. Everybody had unlimited amount of money so they could realize it wouldn't make them happy.
Mm,
Um, it's something along those lines, I think, with fitness of like, until you heal the inside, internally, both like physically, internally, and spiritually, emotionally, like it doesn't matter because you won't feel any better about how the outside looks.
totally. And I think I talk about this a lot on podcasts, but it's like I think that's the hardest part because so many women we deal with and men, but it's like control is a big problem, right? We want to control every aspect. And it's like, sometimes that's what's holding us back, right? We can control our fitness. We control, for the most part, what we put in our mouth, but it's like our mind is a whole nother aspect. And we have to sit with uncomfortable feelings sometimes, and let ourselves feel. That's like a
Yeah.
big one I see is clients just like they don't want to cry. They don't want to appear vulnerable. They don't want to appear, that's a sign of weakness, right? And it's like, no, it's actually how our body regulates. And that's, okay to feel. And when you start, you to heal, you have to feel to heal, right?
Yes.
And yeah, that's an interesting component of this whole health
I
journey.
know that people really would probably have no idea, like that any of this is related to like weight loss. So,
No, no, that's, I mean, well, that's why I bring people on my podcast about this all the time because it's like the more you hear it, the
mhm.
more it's like this is weaved into 90% of my conversations. And
And
it's
hopefully it starts to shift the belief if people are hearing it more.
100%. Because if you would
Hopefully.
have told me 10 years ago that that would be the missing piece, I'd be like, no,
Yeah.
it's not. But have
Yep.
fun. I know I'm not stressed, right?
Yeah.
Stressed, I'm not that stressed. It's fine. I'll like take a bath,
Yeah.
and I'll be fine. But no, it's a missing puzzle piece. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that, especially in this more training, aspect that you do. That's a beautiful piece to weave into their
Thank you.
journeys.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to connect a little bit more with you, what you do, where can they find you?
And Instagram, Laurel Roach, or my gym, if you're local to Scottsdale, is Alloy Scottsdale Grayhawk, right here in North Scottsdale. So that's us on Instagram, or my LinkedIn would be great. Just mention the podcast so I know where you're coming from. And yeah, happy to connect.
Wonderful. Well, I will definitely put those links below so you guys can easily find her, her gyms, connect with her. And thank you, listeners, for being here. Always appreciate you. Definitely send this to somebody you know, or if you know somebody in the North Scottsdale area that's looking for, some in-person work, absolutely check her out as well. And otherwise, thank you, Laurel, for being here, and we'll catch you on the next show.
Ready.